Good evening, everyone. Dr. Jonathan Shepard here. Hey. I am so glad to be with you on another Friday edition of Ask the Doctors. Please excuse our tardiness starting today, but you will see why we had to do that. We have some wonderful guests, and when we get to talking, literally we'll lose track of time because of just the wonderful information, the wonderful guests that we have. Thank you so much for coming on in. And I was getting texts to ask if we were starting today, if I was going to be back. And yes, I'm back today. I want to appreciate the prayers and the messages that were sent last week. As you may have noticed on the post, my uncle, Robert, who we call Bob Shepard Jr., he transitioned, and we had his services last Saturday in Lena, Mississippi. I never had a chance to go to Lena, Mississippi. This is the birthplace of my grandparents. And if anyone out there has ever heard of Lena, Mississippi, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. I would love to know if you know where Lena, Mississippi is. I might even have a little gift for you. Uh, Lena is not the same as Jackson, Mississippi. I flew into Jackson, Mississippi, and had to drive from there, and had a wonderful time. Got a chance to see the gravesite of my great grandparents, Papa Charlie, and my great grandmother, Eileen. And it's just amazing when you go back home to know that there's a sense of comfort. Even though I never lived in Mississippi, it's a sense of comfort. And just was glad to be able to be with my family. And thank you again for your prayers. Thank you again for the wonderful messages. Thank you, Dr. Hayes, and happy birthday to you. He is with us on here. We know that you celebrated with your family and with your friends. And so thank you for taking time to be with us. Millie Liggins is here, and thank you. Chris, thank you for joining us. Come on, let me know if you're here. I have some wonderful guests today, and they are going to just really enhance all that we're going to talk about today. All right, Dr. Hayes, you're here telling your age. I don't know if I would do that if I were you, but that's okay. So again, well, actually, it's good to be able to get to 60 years old. So happy 60th birthday to you, Doctor. Sharon Renee Amos, thank you for being on here. Thank you for letting me know that you're here. Ask the Doctors is sponsored by the company that I work for, which is Hope Health Systems. Hope Health Systems is a mental health organization headquartered in Woodlawn, Maryland. We provide services for adult, adolescents, and children, literally all ages. And we provide all types of services from the least acute to the most acute, really. And so if you're in need of mental health services, please let me know, and please let us know. You can find us at hopehealthsystems.com, and I even put the website here, and you can find that. Go there, and you can do intake right there online, and we'll be glad to service you. We'll be glad to make sure that you know that help is there for you. Today, we have some wonderful guests. My friend is back with me, Dr. Draza, who has been featured with me several times throughout this time that I've been on. I want to say on the air, but I guess it is on social media air, if you would. And I appreciate her. Thank you, Shelly. Oh, man, thank you for letting me know that you've been praying for me and for my family. Good seeing you, miss seeing you. And come on, let me know that you're in the room. I'm going to go ahead and bring Erica in, Dr. Erica Draza. She will introduce herself, and we're going to get this show started. Hey.
Hey, everyone. And hi, Dr. Shepard.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday, TGIF.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear
Just
you.
wanna send my condolences to you, Dr. Shepherd, and your whole family. I'm so, so sorry to hear about your uncle and just devastating. So I know this is a time of grief. So I was surprised that we were even doing this today because I know it's important to make sure you take time for yourself. And I hope that you have. It sounds like you were able to at least spend some good time with your family in Mississippi. So I'm grateful to hear that. But definitely want you to know I've been praying for you as well and send my condolences.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. We must take care of ourselves. That's why we didn't have the show last week. But as we go through life, sometimes things that we find passion in actually helps us through the process. And I'm
Mhm.
definitely passionate about what we're doing here. I'm passionate about the ability to help people, assist people who are struggling mentally. So I hear you on that. So in some ways, Erica, this is a little bit therapeutic for me. And thank you for being here because you make it so easy for me to be able to do this programming. So I appreciate that. Tell people a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So, my name is Dr. Erica Dravasa. I'm a child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist. I'm the co founder and owner of Catalyst Therapeutic Services, which is a private clinic here in Durham, North Carolina. And I also, in my spare time, am a certified yoga instructor. So, occasionally I will teach yoga classes. I actually used to teach virtually. I took a little break, but I'm actually itching to get back into it. And I
Okay.
spend a lot of time cycling on my Peloton. So it's a little bit about
Uh,
me.
Peloton user here, I see.
Yes, yes. Peloton. All my Peloton crew members. Let me see your hands.
Yeah, after all that little trouble that they went through, yeah, with the
Oh, I know, I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
We
Well,
don't need to talk about we're moving on from that.
right, right, right. That's not today's show, but actually, it was hyped up in the media, which we are going to talk about today. Uh,
That's true, and okay,
yeah,
Dr. Hayes, we see you love a Peloton. Okay, for that 60th birthday.
I
That's
know, I know, I
alright.
know, I know. Actually, right, he was on with you.
Yes.
That's right, that's right, that's right, that's right, that's right, absolutely. So yeah, I know. So it's good. Um, and thank you, Eva Colbert, for being on today, and I appreciate your comments. So we also have one more guest who's going to come on with me. This is a gentleman who I respect and watch from afar, and have also seen his work up close. And he's going to come on and add a little spice, if you would, a little bit more information, expertise as we deal with this topic of the media and the mind. All right, the media and the mind. So Christopher Coleman, all the way from Clarksdale, Mississippi, is here with us today. So, Chris, all right, are you there, sir?
Hey, Dr. Shepherd. Hey, Dr. Eric. It's good to be with all of y'all
Yes,
tonight.
sir.
God bless all of you who are watching online. Can't wait to participate in this conversation. Honored to be here, sir.
Wonderful, and thank you for agreeing. And typically you see Chris behind the scenes, but we pulled him forward because he has a wealth of knowledge, and so we want to just hear. So tell the people a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump right on in.
Great. So I'm Chris Coleman, and if you have not noticed, I'm black. No, that's a joke. I am a country boy. As you can see, I am jovial by nature. I love to joke around. The climate we're in, getting a laugh is almost rewarding nowadays. So I love to laugh as much as I can. It's good to be here. I'm from Clarksdale, Mississippi, born and raised. I started a social media company back in 2015, full time. Well, back in 2011, but I went full time in 2015. I Think For You Consulting. We are an online property management company. We manage social media platforms and websites, and we do some other things too. But that's our primary focus. And again, it's just It's an honor to be here. I can't believe I'm on a platform with two doctors. How did y'all find this country boy from Mississippi? Two
Man.
doctors. I'm already blown away.
Well, the proverb says that your gift will make room for you. So
That's the book. That's it.
It has already made room for you. And I see Cody Kelly on here hating us a little bit. Yes, you will be back on.
Oh my goodness.
That's my friend. Smart
wow.
individual, and he has a wonderful podcast that's called "It Is What It Is." I have no problem in endorsing other people. We're not competitors, but he has some wonderful information. I actually joined him on a recording just recently, and so be on the lookout for that. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to jump in so that we can hit most of the questions that we've been talking about. We had a wonderful conversation behind the scenes, so I want to bring it forward now. So today's topic is media, and I entitled it "Curse or Cure." And some people might say, well, what are you referring to, Dr. Shepherd? The gist, as I shared with Chris as we came on the air, the gist of this show today is to remind people, or maybe even inform people, that the media impacts your mental wellness. I'll say that again. The media that you watch, whether it be through television, social media, computer, your phone, whatever, or newspaper, it impacts your mental health, your mental wellness. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give a quick definition of what mental health is, and then we're going to jump on in, all right, with these questions. So I want to help set the stage, the foundation. People who know me, heard me speak, you know my mantra, PCWC. Mental health is defined by 4 principles. Mental health looks at your potential, your ability to cope, work, and the contribution you make to your community. Wow. So when we look at mental health, it again speaks to your potential, your ability to know what's inside of you. It speaks to your ability to cope. And I keep saying ability because that really is a key word. We all have potential. We all can cope, but we have to have the ability to do it, know how to be able to do it. So potential, cope, work, and then contribution. And guess what? The media impacts all 4 of those principles. So we're actually going to start there, truthfully. Yeah. Dr. Draza, why don't we start with you? Because I know you've seen so many different things in your practice. You work with a wide range of people. So I'm just going to let you kind of just start there. I won't throw up a specific, I can't even talk, y'all, a specific question to you. But go ahead.
Yeah, as you were talking about mental health, I was thinking mental wealth as well. And the other thing that adds to that, we need to add another C for community, our ability to have community and be in community. And I think what's really interesting with social media, right, is that it offers a sense of community. But sometimes it can be really beneficial, right? Especially when we think about this past year and some change of this pandemic, AKA Panini Press, AKA whatever you want to call it. We have had opportunities to connect with one another utilizing social media, which has been a blessing. And even thinking about the development of this show, this developed out of COVID and the pandemic and a need to have some sense of community and to talk about things that are really impacting our mental health, whether in positive or negative ways. So I think it could be very beneficial, but I think there also can be ways in which, especially social media, can be hurtful or even harmful. And we've seen that come to light recently, you all. If any of us have been watching the news, right, we've heard about this whistleblower at Facebook. Oh, I don't know. Can we even talk about these things? We're on Facebook talking about Facebook. Like, are we going to be shut down? I don't know. Maybe that's a question for you, Chris. Anyways.
I thought about that.
If you've been watching the news, then we know, right, about this whistleblower who's recently come out and put Facebook, put Instagram, everybody on blast because they have done internal research documenting and actually highlighting the fact that social media, their social media platforms, these platforms can indeed be very harmful to youth and adolescents, particularly to females, but I would probably add to males too, in that it's leading to higher rates of eating disorder, higher rates of depressive disorders, higher rates of anxiety disorders, higher rates of FOMO, if anybody has
Mhm.
experienced that. So I think I'm glad that she came out. I think as a psychiatrist, I already knew those things. I didn't have my own background research, but
Mhm.
there is research actually already out there. People have been documenting this for years that it can have a negative impact on our mental health and our mental well-being. So I'm glad that the media is talking about it. I'm glad that the press is talking about it so that we can start having honest and real conversations about how to make sure we are protecting our health and protecting our mind and utilizing it in a way that can be beneficial and useful, but also being aware of how it can be harmful and hurtful to not only ourselves, but to those in the community around us. So that's what I'm hoping we could talk about today.
Absolutely, and we will. Chris, what would be some of your opening comments to this topic?
Well, I'm thankful for the whistleblower. I sincerely prayed for her when I saw that update on the news.
Yeah.
No telling what could happen as a result of that, and God forbid anything. But it is true. Everything is being pushed by fear, fear mongering. It's a big deal. This has been going on for ages in mainstream media. Social media just adds legs to it. We look to social media as being our news source a lot of times, even before we go to the regular news
That's
source.
true.
And so, yeah, the way the algorithm is sitting out now, back in 2017, Mark Zuckerberg had announced that they were going to change the way stories are being fed into our feed. So rather than like a professional page, like a business page, be seen in the person to person feed, they were going to actually show more person to person feed because news stories, because social media is meant to be social. And so
Mhm.
we saw the innocent side of that through that announcement. But even with that, uh, it's still been an increase of negative news stories, negative ads driven by conversations that we see person to person, and they use that to profit off of it. They've been doing that. It's even if you publish from a business page a paid advertisement, it's still no guarantee that your stuff is going to be seen. But
Mhm.
they're gonna take that negative news stuff, those negative stories that are out there. They're gonna push that because it drives profit. I don't know what it is about fear and profit, but it works. And social media is using it to their advantage. And as a result, it's having a negative impact on our mental health, as Dr. Erica alluded to earlier. So yeah, it's fear is big business, and social media isn't evil; it's the people behind it. Now, I'll just leave it at that.
Mm.
Wow. You
Ooh,
said
that's deep.
something. Yeah. Fear drives
Yeah.
profits.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Fear drives profits. I want to stay there because Derek, who you also know, Dr. Draws, and I believe you know him also, Chris. Derek Scott,
Mhm.
who I believe is one of the most intelligent people that is
Absolutely.
walking around.
Yeah.
And I appreciate him. He was just on here a couple of weeks ago. And he also mentioned that people don't realize how much of their emotional state is dependent upon social media. Why don't
Right.
you address that, Erica?
Absolutely. So I think you're absolutely right, Derek. It is certainly a part of socially conditioning. We don't even understand the impact social media has on us, right? And for instance, the addictive component of it, right? And I'm sure you all can relate to this. It's so hard to put your phone down or put the computer down or your tablet, whatever, because you're constantly getting feedback, right? And that feedback, whether it's a like or it's a heart or it's some kind of commercial or something, an advertisement, excuse me, that's coming through. Those are all things that are being fed to us to light up certain parts of our brain that are actually lit up with other types of addictive behaviors, such as gambling and such as alcohol or drugs or food. If you're like me, chocolate.
That's me too. That's me too.
That's you too, Chris? Okay. So they light up
Yeah.
similar pathways in the brain where we get this intense release of dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter or just a hormone in the brain that makes us very excited and makes us want more, you know? So that's like whenever I see chocolate, I just want more. I'm like, I want chocolate on everything. I want chocolate milk. I want chocolate, you know, chocolate covered bacon, whatever it may be, right? Because I get excited when I think about
Right.
that. And I think that's what happens with social media, that those feedback loops that they create for us, we find ourselves growing very attached to it. And then we can become dependent. Again, just like you could become dependent on a food or a drug or alcohol or dependent on gambling. That can also happen with social media, and these things are happening. Folks who have created it, they know this. They know this. They know how the brain works. These are neuroscientists and engineers and very smart people, individuals who know just what they're doing. They know just how to get you engaged. It's almost like video games too. You know, we see kids who are addicted to video games because there's something about the colors and the music and all of the action that draws them into wanting more. So I think that's really what goes on behind it, and that causes us to be dependent on it. We don't even realize it.
But Erica, to your point, I think beyond just social media, the culture. I mean, just given this whole COVID thing, and those of you who are Bible readers, you know, I personally feel that this is a preview of things to come. But the culture says, I can't touch you. I have to be separate from you, 6 feet apart. So this man-made, I'm going to be very careful with my words because I know I don't want to jeopardize the integrity of this program. But what appears to be something man-made has driven all of us into this digital space. And so now we are forced again to look at evil imagery that is being pushed by social media. So we are forced to buy into this. We have no choice. I can't touch you. I can't go over my family's house. So now, because I need community, we're not created to be on an island.
Absolutely.
We're created to be with people. So I'm forced to find community on here. But while I'm in this community, I'm going to be force-fed fear through imagery, through videos, through things that they want you to see. Because again, that all goes back to profit. The bottom line is money. And as believers, we're going to have to count it. And I'll talk about that a little later on because the Bible gives us solutions to that. But again, I just want to stop. Everything is all about money. At the end of the day, all of this stuff is about money and control. But it can be beat.
It is so true. Now it's weird because I can have conversations with friends or family members, and next thing I know, I'm on Facebook and I see an advertisement for the same thing I talked about. I'm like, so Siri, listening to everything I'm saying, and then you're right, it really is about profit because then they take that data from me and then they sell it. I don't know if you guys in the Social Dilemma, but it is so. If you are,
I haven't seen it, but I heard of it.
Oh, you have to see it. You have to see it. So they're listening, they're watching everything we search for in Google or all the things we buy on Amazon. It's like they're taking all that information and they're using that data and selling it to other people to profit off of us. So we have to just be very careful. I think if we're aware, it starts with awareness and insight, right? If we're aware of what the main driver is, then that can help us utilize it in a better way, right? And to be able to put some boundaries on it and things like that. And somebody mentioned maybe Sarita. Absolutely, she asked, can it bring people together for support and to uplift one another? Absolutely. I think that's what the show is all about, right? There are a lot of us who had to connect because we weren't able to see people during COVID. We weren't able to see family members. So this was the only way we could really connect to folks. When you think about kids, that was the only way they were able to connect with their classmates. But it can also be used for, the profit reasons, right? And to divide, to cause division, as well as we've seen politically, right? And we've seen how it's caused so much hate, hate speech. Cyberbullying is at an all-time high right now. And that's because of all the things that people have been posting in terms of hate speech and things like that. So we just have to be aware, and we have to be careful and make sure that we're using it in a responsible way.
Well, I knew it was a red flag. Also, I'm probably one of the very few people, even in the Kojic organization. I actually had dinner with Mark Zuckerberg a few years ago. I was invited to. Don't ask how it happened. It was like one of those divine moments. Seriously, I had filmed with a filmmaker from Texas. I'd done a documentary with her maybe back in 2015, 2014, and she returned at the request. Well, no, they were doing a workshop in Mississippi, in Clarksdale. And it turns out that Mark was on this 50-state tour, and he was stopping through Clarksdale. And so she invited me as her guest to have dinner with her. It was Morgan Freeman and a few others. And so I'm literally sitting at arm's length with Mark Zuckerberg. And the first thing I noticed, he had very little interaction with his cell phone, but his camera was covered. I don't know if it was tape, but it was covered on both sides. And he had very little interaction with his phone. So I knew even then that he knew the power of these mobile devices, and even Apple. Apple, they play in like they're innocent, but they're just as guilty as Facebook. And that's another conversation for another day.
Oh, yeah.
But he had his device covered the entire time with some kind of black tape or whatever. And I've never shared this with anybody. This is an exclusive.
Hopefully he's not listening or watching right now. I mean,
yeah, hopefully. But that was that's the first thing I noticed.
Wow.
Like, he had his devices covered. So yeah, it's very true what we say. And there's a way you can limit that on your phone, by the way. When you say something, it's all in your settings. I don't want to take over that because I know we got other stuff to go into.
We might need a tutorial, Chris. We might need.
Oh my gosh!
No, we're good.
Yeah.
No, you have captured our attention. Believe me. It is so interesting that you said that, because even when you think about people who lead certain organizations, cults in particular, how they're not the ones who participate in the same things that they're teaching people.
They don't. No, they don't.
Oh my God.
Right. Yeah. And so, but I'm hopeful because, and I don't want to veer from your agenda on the interview, but the Bible gives us a clear solution to all of this, particularly our stance. When we see evil on the rise, and we see that, I'll use this as an example. So Warner Brothers announced, this is unrelated to this topic, but it's sort of related. So Warner Brothers announced last week that the Superman character, they were going to make him bisexual in the comic books.
Right.
And I saw some preachers, they got all in the uproar, but we're going to take a stand. And the first thing we do, we march to the street. We go to the streets and we march. And we neglect what we're instructed to do. I believe it's in Luke 19:13. We're instructed to occupy until Jesus comes, which means we are to do business. We are to immerse ourselves in building the kingdom, building things that counter the evils in this world. So if you're going to come up with an evil DC character, I'm going to use my money, my resources, and I'm going to make a positive character to its counter. This is all about influence and money. And the Bible says a poor man this is the country way of saying it. A poor man's wisdom, the Bible actually says a poor man's wisdom is disregarded. But in layman's terms, a poor man has no voice. So you can preach all day long, but at the end of the day, if you don't have money, if you don't use your resources to build kingdom, to build things that are influential in the kingdom that will counter what we're seeing, we are wasting our time. It's no wonder why God forced all of us out of the church into the digital space. We have no option right now other than taking all you preachers. I'm a preacher too, so I'm in this. All you pastors who receive tithe money, who receive honorariums, take that money and go put it behind a product or a service or a book that's going to promote kingdom. Now, how? Because it goes beyond Superman. You can't
Right.
even you got to look at what the kids are being fed. Peppa Pig looks so innocent on the surface, but nobody's talking about how Peppa Pig's head is shaped like a penis. It's subliminal messaging. So they're starting with kids. So it's more than just Facebook, Doc. But again, I'm working with a client right now. I actually have a meeting with her in about an hour. She's written a book that will promote the God's idea for the family. Because I'm telling you now, those of you now in Church of God in Christ, we call it Sunshine Band. If you don't start at the kids' age, even the babies are being born now they're born with like intellect beyond how, and you doctors probably see this firsthand. They're not coming out of the womb like we came out of the womb. These guys are crawling at 10 days. I mean, I'm being sarcastic, but they're super smart babies that are coming out now. So they're already developing. Like, I don't know what it is guys doing, but their development stages have advanced. We're really in this season of acceleration. We're smack dab in Amos 9. That's really where we are. That and Matthew 24. But that's another conversation for another day. But you got to get these kids while they're small, and it's going to take us as believers to stop going to the streets talking about what DC and all these people are doing with what they have, using their influence and taking our resources and building the kingdom. That's all we're supposed to do. He said, do business until I come back. That is our job. Even on social media, with all the negativity and stuff that we see, counter it and stop acting like we're not weak people. We are seated with him in heavenly places. That's our job. I'm taking over this conversation. Should be talking as much, but I'm passionate about this, man, because I don't like saying I'm not weak. I'm not mamby-pamby. No, we can do something about this.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what this show is about. And as Erica said it earlier, that is actually how this show got started, because people were struggling so much. And it wasn't good enough for me just to be seeing the finite people I was seeing within Hope Health Systems, or just taking the phone call here or there. It was doing something that was out of my comfort zone so that I could be able to provide some services and assistance. And again, you hear me saying but honestly, it's not me per se. I mean, you see people who are on here working with me. I even have some consultants now behind the scenes. And I mention these things because you said something that was so important, Chris, and that is that we have to counter.
That's it.
So I'm going to ask you today, an audience, what's your counter? You're concerned about whatever things that might be going on. I know there's some people are concerned about abortion, and and I'm very careful about some of the topics I do bring up on here, because I'm not on here to talk about certain ideologies or beliefs. I'm on here to make sure your mental health stays together, because if your mental health stays together, you're gonna believe certain things in order for you to be able to stay well and stay productive. All right. But that's so general, Dr. Shepherd. No, it's not general. I want you to be able to live and be effective and productive, but you have to be careful of what goes into you. I hope this is making sense what I'm saying. So we have to see what your counter is. Erica, looks like you want to say something.
Oh, no, I was just sitting here agreeing, like just nodding my head, taking it all in. I'm also a little disturbed by the Peppa Pig thing. I didn't realize that. But anyway.
I know I messed up everybody's idea of Peppa Pig, but it's the truth.
But I think I think we have to come up with a counter, and that's really important. And I think we also have to teach our youth and our kids what the reality of what they are seeing, right? And to have conversations, to open a door for them to be able to talk about what they're seeing, whether that's social media or on movies or listening to and their music choices. But it really starts with opening the door to have conversations with them, but also with ourselves, because I think it also can impact adults. I'm seeing not only children and adolescents being impacted by this, and endorsing feelings of depression and sadness and anxiety and self-doubt. A lot of comparisons being made. But I hear that all the time with adults, and I have even struggled with that. And I think it's important to just be able to pause and to take note of what impact it's having on you. Just to take some inventory to say, okay, am I utilizing this in a way that's useful right now, or whatever I see, or is it giving me images that are making me doubt myself, that are making me feel like I don't have enough, that are making me feel like I'm somehow missing out on certain things in life, and doubting myself or not confident. I think it's something that I've had to even say, okay, I need to take a little break from
Mhm. Yeah.
social media, and to say, okay, let's, you know, just kind of reset and push the button and say, okay, let's take a little mental health break.
Mhm.
It's actually not serving us, because it can definitely have a negative impact. And then, like you said, okay, what's the counter? How can I add value? How can I add to this? To Facebook or Instagram in a way that can help other people, including myself, but definitely helping other people. And I think this broadcast is a way. I think giving people resources, mental health resources is a way. I think being able to have these open conversations with one another to figure out how we want to progress the community. So, yeah, I think I love that. What's your counter?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
all should be charged with that. So,
Yeah, and that here's what I'm going to now, because we've given some solutions, which I love it. I hate when I give solutions at the very end where people are logging off, and is they kind of tired of hearing the conversation. So I love it. I love to interject in the middle, but I want to take a little deeper dive because we mentioned the Facebook whistleblower, but I want people to really hear what is being said by her and by even what Derek was mentioning, who has 7 children, and I don't think, yeah, he has 7. I don't think any of them are above the age of 18. So they all
Wow.
are adolescent or children age, and he's probably gonna get me for that one. But I tell you, he mentioned in his comment that his children see their peers as being mentally depressed. Now, how is that? That a child can look at another peer and tell if he or she is mentally depressed. One of the ways is because they have recognized signs, they recognize symptoms, they recognize when something is wrong. You alluded to that earlier, Chris. Children at 1 and age 2 can work an iPad.
Yeah.
Trust
Yeah.
me,
Mhm.
I've seen it. They know how to be able to unlock it. They
yes.
know how to be able to figure out
Absolutely.
how to make a certain sound and how to be able to even get the iPad to respond. So you're right, and actually it makes sense because the reason why we're seeing such an acceleration is because the brain really is an empty slate.
Mhm.
There's so much potential. And because we have allowed for, again, this is a good thing, we've allowed for technology to come in and to stimulate that empty slate. It allows for things and neurons to be able to synapse, which means they'll be able to connect faster. And when they connect faster, then that's why they're able to do certain things much faster than what we were doing when we were younger, because we didn't
Mhm.
have some of those things that really stimulated our brains like we do now. So it
Wow.
really does make sense. So the media really does help in that area, but again, you have to make sure it is on a developmental or appropriate for appropriate for the developmental of your child. That's what I want to say.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Developmentally appropriate for your child. Let me say it that way.
Mhm.
Because what happens is, and I'm not done here, the developmental stages of a child does not change. That actually stays the same. How children develop back when we first started looking at these stages some over 100 some years ago, and even to today, those stages still apply. What just happened is that we have advanced it because of what we do now to be able to stimulate that growth, and that's what happens much faster.
Mhm.
Pivoting now, and thank you all for joining us. Just kind of resetting the room here. Thank you for all the comments. So keep sending that. There is this environment. and Instagram and TikTok that's quite toxic. And I want to deal with that. Um, this is one of the things that the whistleblower was talking about. She was talking about how teenage girls tend to be more negatively affected by what they see because of body image and things like that. Erica, I know you have worked in eating disorders in particular. I really wanted you to address that during this particular time that we're together today. So please help us
Absolutely.
out.
That's something that I see a lot. And I will add, it's not just girls, it is
Mhm.
actually boys
Thank
as
you.
well. And I think that's really important to highlight. Boys are indeed impacted by eating disorders. And they also are getting in these images that they're seeing, whether on Instagram or TikTok or, mostly those Snapchat. You think about all of the filters. That's one thing we didn't even talk about yet, right? So there's so many filters that can change the shape of your face or your body and can highlight or low light certain aspects, right, to make people appear thinner or not. And what happens is they see those images and or maybe it's even images of models and things like that that are photoshopped, and they then internalize those images and feel as though they need to become that image in order
Mm.
to be liked, in order to be accepted, in order to feel valued, and to find their identity in that. And what can happen is, as you can imagine, they're scrolling through pictures, and this is what the whistleblower noted. And this is something, again, anyone who's worked in eating disorders field, we've known this for years, that when they put in certain things, even certain words like Anna, right? So most people would think, okay, Anna, that doesn't seem like anything. Well, for someone who's struggling with an eating disorder, Anna means anorexia nervosa. And if you put in Anna into Instagram,
Oh,
there's going
wow.
to be
Wow.
pro Anna accounts teaching girls and boys how to
Wow.
further develop their anorexia nervosa disorder by how to restrict, how to lose weight, what to eat, what not to eat. So there are diets, there are fad diets. There's people who post body parts of themselves saying, okay, how much do I look like I weigh today versus before? And a lot of kids and adolescents and young adults will have accounts that are pro Anna accounts where they are perpetuating these things. And what Instagram and Facebook and all these platforms do is then they start showing them these images in their feed of how to lose weight, how to go on a such and such diet. And next thing you know, their eating disorder is becoming more and more severe. Same could be said
Wow.
for bulimia nervosa. So for us, if you just hear the word Mia, you're not going to think anything. But if you're a kid with an eating disorder and you type in Mia, it's going to be pro bulimia nervosa websites and content in terms of
Wow.
how do you purge. Let's give you some additional ways to think about how to induce purging besides self-induced vomiting. How do we teach you other ways to further develop that? And again, lots of images of what you should look like, in order to feel good. People will be your friend if you look this way. You'll be popular, you'll be accepted. So we have known this for years, and we've
Mm.
tried to highlight that over the years, but there's been a lot of silence, and it hasn't been until recently with the whistleblower that it's now coming to light, and people are actually having more conversations about this. But we've known this for years and years and years, and you can see even rates increasing since 2012, when social media first really started to get a lot of traction. You're starting to see higher rates of depression and anxiety, eating disorders within our youth. That correlates. Of course, we can't say it's it causes it, but
Right, right.
there's definitely a correlation there. So yeah, so that's just one way that we see it showing up.
Wow. Woo! Between you and Chris,
That's
man,
some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm learning
man,
something myself, man. This is amazing.
Oh,
Wow.
it
that's awesome.
runs deep. It runs deep, and then we think about all of the content we're seeing for our Black youth, especially.
Mhm,
And we haven't even talked about the body image issues that we're seeing with that, and
mhm.
plastic surgery, and the whole BBL culture. right?
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys know what that is, but going to Atlanta and all these other places to doctors and having like a perfectly sculpted body that we feel is acceptable within our community, and seeing those images. And again, once you start looking at those images, guess what's going to be fed back to you? More and more
Right.
images. And again, that leads to self-doubt, that leads to, okay, I need to make these changes. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. And when you start internalizing those things, it really impacts your psyche, right? You start believing those things. And when you start believing those things, guess what? Then it leads to not only depressive symptoms, sometimes hopelessness,
Yeah.
sometimes thoughts of death,
Yeah.
sometimes suicidality. So
Right.
then that ends up being perpetuated. You look up suicide, guess what? You might find content online that encourages suicidality, that encourages self harm, and will show kids and youth how to engage in behaviors where they can learn how to self harm, where they can learn about the best ways to die. So it runs deep. It runs
Wow.
deep. We have to talk about it.
Wow. Chris, come on and jump in. What do you want to add to this conversation now? I see your question, Derek. Wonderful question, but I want to get Chris in here.
Yeah, well, what Dr. Erica mentioned about seeing those images repeatedly eventually becomes a part of you, and that's Bible. The Bible says for us to guard our hearts with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. And as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if I keep seeing images of something negative about myself or yada yada yada, if I digest this, eventually I'm going to think it. And if I think it, I believe it and I become it. And not only that, but if I begin to speak it, the Bible says in Proverbs that we're snared by the words from our mouth. Also, that death and life is in the power of the tongue. So media traps us both ways. And trust me, the masterminds behind media understands biblical principles. You best believe that.
Wow.
If you notice, even among the African American community, I'm going to take a stab at the industry, particularly with what's happening with the LGBTQ movement. Again, I'm going to be careful with my words because I know how y'all are, how the world can be, I should say. If you look in mainstream media, particularly the music industry, Black men are only exalted in this country in media if they're filmed, if they're gay, or if they appear to be soft or anything like that. That is the only way Black men are exalted. That is the only way men tend to excel in the music industry, in mainstream. For some reason, that's part of the agenda that's being pushed. Look at Little Nas X. And I sincerely pray for him. I really hope the best for him. But they've used him as the model for success. And even with Snoop Dogg, when I was growing up, Snoop Dogg was frowned upon. But it was only when they paired him with Martha Stewart that he began to be. Brothers have to be seen in a soft light. I don't know why that is, but it's like that. And when you're constantly seeing those images, we're being taught that I don't need to be a man, that it's okay for me to be this because that's the only way I'm going to succeed.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Well, and on the other hand, too, I mean, you see the other side too. And I guess for
yeah,
me as a psychiatrist, I see, and then there's a lot of research supporting this, especially for Black LGBTQI individuals,
mhm.
that they are they are at higher risk of being physically abused, of being bullied,
absolutely.
especially with cyberbullying,
Right, right.
and have much higher rates of depression, have much higher rates of eating disorders, believe it or not,
Mhm.
especially in the Black community,
Mhm.
and also the highest rates of suicidality. And I
Mhm.
think even though, and I hear what you're saying, but I think on the other side, there's a population of those folks who feel like they have no place to be themselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes social media, they become bullied. They become bullied, and that can lead to some of the negative aspect, like negative impact on their mental health as well. So I think
Mhm.
that in itself, it's something worth, digging into a little bit more, because I think sometimes social media, it can be a platform, but sometimes it can be very harmful for those individuals. And I see them on the other side because
But I I,
yeah,
I think in addition to what you say, I think part of the reason why the bullying has increased even on social media, particularly with those who are LGBTQ, it's so many letters. Yeah, I'm sorry if I don't say all the letters. Is because we don't allow them to talk about that in church. James 5:6 tells us to confess um, our faults one to another, that ye may be healed. And in the same scripture, he says, the fervent, effectual prayers of a righteous man availeth much. We have made it taboo, almost sinister, to say to a person, hello, I'm Chris. I'm struggling in this area. Can you help me? And you're supposed to come back as my pastor, as my whoever. Hey, Chris, don't worry about that. I may not have had your struggle, but I've struggled in this area. But we both have had certain struggles. Let's pray together, and let's walk. Let's walk each other through this, and let's see each other to the end. What we do, we hear a person has a struggle in this area, particular people who deal with homosexuality or lesbian, who have that struggle lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. We demonize them and we throw them away. And we don't want to have anything to do with it because, one, we don't know how to handle it. I'm talking about church particularly. And so we throw them away and we let the world, well, we're not supposed to have any kind of power with you. We don't want to have anything to do with you. But I'm telling you something, this is a message to believers, to pastors, to churches. If you don't make a place for people to talk about their struggles, the world has a place for them. The world has a door open for them. We've got to do this thing like the Bible says. If I'm having an issue in my life, I should be able to come to you boldly. If I can come before the throne of grace boldly and obtain mercy, I should be able to go to my brother, my sister, my pastor, and say, hey, I'm struggling with this in an area. Can you pray for me? Without being judged, without having my business on the streets in fear somebody's going to take my business and do harm to me. Again, this goes back to the church. It is our responsibility to do something about this. We got to do this thing like the book and not according to my brand.
Yeah, and let me just say that, Chris, what one of the things I want to make sure that people are clear on is that when you are providing assistance and help, you should not be telling the people who are coming to you for help, whether it's for in my psychiatric office, my mental health office, my doctor's office, if you choose to go to a church for help, if you choose to go to wherever you go for help, that's not my job to sit there and say, well, I'm not, I can't help you because of who you are. Then something's wrong with that. And the reason why and people might go, well, Shepherd, you kind of shifted. No, I haven't shifted, because what media has done is allowed for these divisions to occur and to allow these rifts and these classifications to where we end up. And Erica's absolutely right. There is no reason why, if I, as a physician, and I have a certain stance or belief that I cannot, or some people tell me, well, I can't work with certain people, that person is absolutely wrong. And I would tell that person, hey, no. The reason why a lot of this is continue to be perpetuated is because of the media. The media has allowed for us to figure out, I could only be with this particular group of people. If you don't fit that mold, you're canceled. I mean, that's why cancel culture is just booming right now, because we have got so many small minds. It's amazing. I'm kind of feeling this now, how advanced we have become, but yet so small in our thinking. It's pitiful. It is pitiful. Media has shrunk our ability to be able to think for ourselves, to be able to operate in fullness of who we are in our true character. I hope y'all hearing me on that, because that really just kind of hitting me right now. How advanced we could be, but yet we're so small-minded in our thinking. It bothers me when I gotta use social media, or I gotta use media to tear down somebody. Um, it bothers me when I can only have one platform. And I use social media just to if I'm against abortion, and that's all that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to just talk about it on a platform. No, something is wrong with that. You hear me?
But
I'm not mincing my words here. Something is wrong with this, because it should be a place where we are. Again, I go back to my four potentials. If you cannot utilize what you do through media or however you are communicating the help that's needed, if you cannot speak to that person and building up their potential, their ability to cope, work, and make a contribution to your community, so that that C is in there, Erica, then I don't see how you helping me to be the best I can be in my mind. Because honestly, that's where the attack is at. And I'm not being spiritual or anything like. I'm just saying people are struggling in their minds, and the media is really playing on it. Now, again, I love media. I wouldn't be on here without the media,
yeah,
but I have to present that counter right now, and some of it is. I'll say this one thing. I'm gonna be quiet. I've never been in such a time where people have to be so careful about what they say, because they're looking to be canceled. We gotta be careful of that. Um, we're careful of our beliefs. Chris is stating what he believes. Erica has stated what she believes, and it's good. You know, but I want to be careful that we don't get to a point to where I don't like what he said. Are we judging people based off of what they post and what they say through the media? We got to stop doing those things. Hopefully, I've made some sense in that. But you really got me revved up there.
Mhm.
yeah. But I think it's fair to say that we can't even blame the media, and I
Okay.
hate to put such disparity on the church. It really is the church's fault, and I'll tell you why. Because the first commandment we're told in Bible is to be fruitful, multiply, dominate, and subdue the earth. We should have control over everything. Before we even charged to preach the gospel, he told us to be fruitful, because a poor man has no voice. You be fruitful, take what I've given you, multiply it, dominate, and take control over media. There's no way Jesus can come back right now. And I know we're seeing signs of that, but we're nowhere near ready.
But let me just, and I'm going to challenge, and I'm not challenging you, Chris, but I want to challenge the
Yeah,
people out there, because you have to understand that there are systems in place that will stop people who look like us from be able to even achieve to get to those goals of being able to dominate. And so that's where, again, this platform allows for us to uproot those snares, to uproot those things that are in place. There are institutional and structural racism things that are in place to not allow for us to dominate. That's whether or not you're in the church or what, they
right.
don't care.
That's right.
Because of the color of your skin, because
But
of
here,
who you are, what you believe, your sexuality, all of that. That is institutional discrimination, and we have to be aware of what these things are, and we have to not allow these systems to remain in place. The systems are in place, and we go back to what we were saying, to profit off of us.
but
That's why the systems are in place.
here's the danger in not dominating. If you recall, about 3 4 weeks ago, Facebook shut down or whatever.
That's right.
I think it's probably the longest shutdown we've had,
Yep.
6 7 hours. And all of our ministries now are on Facebook.
Mhm.
All of our stuff is archived there. If Facebook decides we're just going to act up, it's not going to work anymore, all of our stuff has just gone down the drain. All of our ministry efforts, all of what you're doing here, your platform here, all this stuff is down the drain because we're at the mercy of what the world has created. If we don't create a counter, we're in trouble. Because who's to say, like they did Trump, and rightfully so, but who's to say that when I'm preaching my sermon and I say something, as you said, Dr. Shepherd, that doesn't agree, that they decide, you know what, I don't want preachers on Facebook anymore. Who's to say that? Who's to say that? Right. Because to be honest, that's where we're headed. It may be long term, maybe short term, I don't know. But we have got to get on top of it. It may be already, but we don't know.
Or they may have a problem with a Black physician being on here giving mental health advice because they recognize because they didn't kill Dr. Martin Luther King just because he was a preacher.
Right.
They killed him because he was destroying the system that was in place to free them from the bondage that they were profiting from. That is the reason. All right.
And you see the same scenario with Dr. Is it how you pronounce his name? Sebas, the health guy. Can't call his name, but he's a natural. Well, he passed. It's SEBI, and he revealed CB is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, one of them. He revealed cures to cancer and things like that by naturally eating, and all of a sudden, a couple of days after that, he was, I don't know how he died. I forget how he died, but he was gone. Very noted Black physician. But yeah, you're right. We're at the mercy of people who are not for us. That's believers, African Americans, and we got to get on top of that. We got to counter that.
Yep. Erica, I'm gonna let you have some party words. I know we don't.
I know. I was like, okay,
healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very dynamic discussion today. I think we talked about a lot of different things. I think the main takeaways I believe are, one, we just have to, again, take inventory. We have to learn how to monitor our usage and our children and youth. You know, that's really important. That's something I actually counsel my parents on quite a bit, is how do we monitor our children and our youth, the intake of whatever media that they're taking in. We have to make sure that we are not only monitoring it, but what are we talking about with them? What are they seeing? And also, how are they processing that information? You know, the reality, Dr. Shepherd talked a little bit earlier about the development of a child in their brain. That brain continues to develop until the age of around 25, believe it or not.
Right.
And parts of the brain that are impacted are especially those parts of the brain that lead to excitement and to happiness and to all, the dopamine, again, that we talked a little bit about with the reward system, right? So I think it's important to make sure that we are having healthy conversations, opening the door in a non-judgment, non-critical way, so that they can openly share with us what they're seeing, what they're hearing, how they are interpreting that, and then we can help them better interpret that if we need to. We can help them process it in a healthy way. So we want to make sure that we have checks and balances in place so that we, can block the things they really don't need to be seeing, and for the things that they are seeing, talk to them about it. And then the other thing, I think after all of this, we talked a lot about who's in control, who's dominating, things like that. I really want us to walk away feeling empowered, right?
Yes.
Empowered about our ability to take ownership of how we utilize media in a healthy way. That there are things that we could do, like Chris may come back one day and tell us all the things that we need to do and to set our settings up appropriately, right? For us all to feel empowered that, this is our, we get to utilize this the way we want to and we need to. And we get to put checks and balances on ourselves so that we can feel empowered when we do utilize media, so that we can do it in a way that helps promote health, wellness. Okay, so I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and Chris, I'll let you have some word, but I do want to just allow you to give just a couple real quick alternative ways the question that Derek asked. I want to make sure I asked it correctly. He asked, where did I see it? Where did I see it? Man, there's so many comments. What are the healthy alternatives to internalizing the things that we've been talking about? So, if you would, just in your last words, let's give some healthy alternatives to how we internalize things that we see on the media.
Well, don't watch the news. That's number one for me. I do not watch it unless I see a breaking news alert or something that, maybe a plane fell out of the sky. I don't watch it. It's intended to put fear in your heart, and I just don't subscribe to fear. It is a commandment of Jesus that we do not fear, and I take his words seriously. Always listen to when you see the red words, pay attention to them. His words are spirit and they are life. I live by that. Don't subscribe to fear. And as Erica said, look at the ways that you will invest in things that will empower you. Read a book. People perish for lack of knowledge. If you have everything is figure outable these days. And I can say one thing about Google, you can just about find the answer to anything on YouTube. If you have a question about how can I safeguard my children, go look it up. I don't consider myself an authority, but there are people online who are much smarter than I, who have already done the hard work. Just do your own research. But don't feel as though you don't have enough power to do it. You have all the power in the world to change how your children see things, how you see things. You have power over that. Just don't subscribe to fear. Don't watch negative things, and laugh often. And she mentioned about is it Dort? Yeah, I'm a country boy. I don't know all the medical terms, but
about dopamine.
The dopamine, yeah. Find things. Again, it's all about countering. I like to laugh a lot. I watch comedy shows that are wholesome. I don't even have cable. I do Netflix and Hulu because I can choose what I watch. But I don't do the fear stuff. But read positive images. I have an affirmation. I literally wrote out 50 affirmations that I recite every morning in my prayer time. I'm up at 5:30 every morning religiously. And I speak positive things over our life. Words are this thing right here, this tongue, what you speak, it is the most powerful tool that you have. And the media knows this. That's why they keep saying fear stuff, because if they feed you fear, you're going to speak fear, and what you speak becomes reality. So again, it all goes back to counter. Positive images, positive thoughts, positive sayings, affirmations, they're powerful. I'm talking like I'm one of y'all doctors. Y'all know this stuff already. That's what I do to stay positive. That's what I do. You got to keep positive stuff before you. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yeah. And I wanted to say this. With the fact that anxiety is at an all-time high, let's put it into context. Anxiety has risen. Erica would tell you, I've seen it. I've even had to manage my own anxiety. We have anxiety about going to certain places, which is kind of funny. We'll go certain places, but other places, well, I'm too scared. I'm not ready yet. But we're going to fly on a plane to an island and stuff like that. That makes sense. But anyway, anxiety is at an all-time high. And so because they know that, because the media understands that, they're now going to play off of that. And now they're going to, as Chris has said, as Erica has stated, that they're going to feed off of that. They're going to now force you to go buy something. We even have to be careful with this shipping crisis. Oh, let me stop. You got to get out there and buy all your stuff right now. Yeah, because it won't be here in time for Christmas. Oh my God, what I'm going to do for Christmas? It's fear.
Right.
I hear you. You've driven the point home. We've got to stop. Lord, I normally do not go this long.
So this is good.
This is Chris's first time, so I hope to be able to come back. I want to say we wore him out. But thank you all so much. Again, Ask the Doctors is sponsored by Hope Health Systems, which is a mental health organization where I serve as chief medical director. We provide services for children, adolescents, and adults, and we have from a wide range of services. I put the website up. Excuse me. Put the website up earlier, hopehealthsystems.com, and we'll do you some good if you come on through. Man, I done talked so much, I done got start coughing.
Oh,
Let me go ahead and end this show.
water.
Yes.
Wow.
All right, guests, please stay on. Good night, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
God bless you.